From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Sup?
If you got a tip from Melissa, something you heard that might break open a case, a wild rumor that you think may not be so wild, what the dog did with the car keys, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, proudly displaying police caution tape as home decor accessory, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. And what the hell's wrong with caution tape as home decor? I think it's lovely.
Well, it's different.
I received a pair of socks in the mail today with caution tape that I absolutely adore.
I know you did.
And I am in discussions with a designer about making journals that one could keep in their car from just the Tipsters in case you see, like, you know, an asshole or an errant body and you need to jot it down.
Yeah.
And some of the pages may have caution tape. I mean, I'm in talks.
All right,
so
you're in talks.
That's interesting. You must be in my brain. Be digging in my brain.
No, I think I saw the caution tape socks today. So
okay.
I was like, she'd probably decorate the entire house.
Well, every Halloween our front yard is a cemetery.
It's true.
And I have a lot of police caution tape, a lot of it.
Yes, it does look like a crime scene for sure.
Quite often.
Yes.
So before we get to a real crime, the crime that I need to address with producer Mark and anyone within the sound of my voice is that not only is he a bed rapist, he is also a smile bigot.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about. Now, why do you have to bring this up?
Because can you, number one, clear your throat and stop it?
I need a kill button here.
We need I'd like a kill button for a different reason.
All right.
Stop doing that. It sounds bad, number one. Okay, number two, I enjoy watching the Pioneer Woman. I think she's adorable. I don't like redheads. I don't like redheads. Gingers annoy me. I adore her. She's the cutest thing. I don't know how to cook.
You mean she's always talking like she's got a smile? She's always smiling. She's just...
And can you tell me what the problem with a smile is?
Just so phony. I bet she goes...
It's not phony at all.
When they turn the camera off, she probably beats up the crew.
She probably does.
She's so evil.
She hits him in the head with a crock pot.
That's right. She's so clearly a horrible person.
She's rage-filled.
Yes, because
there's daggers in her eyes.
That smile on
What's
her
wrong
face,
with you? She's a wonderful human being.
She's just
oh my God. Every time I happen to be watching an episode of The Pioneer Woman and she's cooking on her wonderful ranch in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The daughter of an orthopedic surgeon who fell in love with a cowboy, and they have the 4 kids and they have this ranch.
And she always wears those Earth Mother clothes.
She does. I don't like her clothes. I mean,
they're just,
I have a tip for anyone who maybe, I don't even really like this term, but they call us fat people curvy. Don't wear tents. Don't wear muumuus. Don't wear caftans. You just look bigger and shapeless. Wear something that fits your body and that is fitted. I look smaller than I am because I wear clothing that fits me, not giant muumuu things.
Yeah, you look beautiful.
Well, you're crazy. That's not the point.
You look beautiful, and you don't wear those. But the thing about those muumuu things is that they could make Mr. Green Jeans look like a fat ass.
Well, thanks for aging yourself, Grampy. Well, I don't know if anyone listening knows that Mr. Green Jeans wore overalls on Captain Kangaroo, and he was very thin, tall and thin.
I wish I could play the theme. I have to find out if that's in the public domain.
The theme from
I have it. It's actually a piece of classical music that's called
yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
Don't hum it. We'll get in trouble.
That was one of my favorite shows as a child because he didn't talk down to kids.
No,
I loved Bob Keeshan.
Yeah,
Jenks, owe me a Coke. I loved him. I wanted him to be my dad. I used to watch
really?
him. Oh my gosh. I was like, why can't I have that dad? Why do I have to have the dad I have? So, okay. So don't try and deflect from the fact that you hate people who smile.
She's just so good. She's
All right.
always smiling.
It's probably why you married me, is because I'm just frowning all the time.
Well, you're not frowning all the time. You
All of
you
the
smile
time.
when it's appropriate to smile, and you frown when it's appropriate to smile. Frown. I mean frown.
I knew what you meant. Anyway, okay. So I will let it go. The bed raping and the smile bigotry, but you're on thin ice. That's it. You got like 2 strikes.
Okay,
So
well,
just keep it in line. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I can watch all of those HGTV shows. I do get tired of Trisha Yearwood, though. I know you love her too.
I do.
And she's okay.
She's a good cook. You know what I
Yeah.
don't like, and she stopped doing this. Singing.
Oh, right. Right.
And it's like, how many times can you weave into a chocolate souffle? She's in love with the boy. You can't.
You know, I think they did that on the early shows because that was probably the hook of the show
Yeah,
when they
maybe.
first started it. And she probably put the kibosh on that.
I don't know. Maybe.
You know.
They don't do it as often or really very much at all. That makes the show much more palatable, no pun intended for me. But she is a good cook, a good old-fashioned Southern cook with these old recipes from her mom, passed down from generations, and they're good. They're interesting. They're not difficult.
And at least she's not smiling all the time. I mean, she's friendly and she's affable, but she's not.
Note to self: if you meet Mark Humphreys, just stone face it, stick out your hand, and don't smile because he'll slap it right off your face.
And now the boys are going to get a good country breakfast.
Oh my God. You sound like a South Park character. Poor Ginger Head. What's her name?
I don't even know what her name
I
is.
know,
That's
I
the
feel
other
so
problem.
bad now. That's terrible. Pioneer woman.
Just so the audience...
Ree Drummond.
Oh.
Well, I
Just so
wonder
the
if
audience
Ree is
know,
short or
your
something.
host, Melissa Morgan, bought like 3 tons of Pioneer Woman shit that's covered in flowers. And I mean, it all looks like something
It's
out
just
of
the couple,
1968.
it's like a chopper and okay, now I'm moving on. All right. So this week's episode is a really fascinating case, even though it's from Canada. No offense, Tanya. But I have a little bit of issues with Canadian justice because there really isn't any. And I'm leaning more toward the, non-death penalty part of my life. However, I feel like and I do love jury pools. I think the fact that they hire professional jury pools is brilliant. And I wish they did that in the United States.
Me too. But they'd have to change the Constitution, I think.
Oh, well, fuck that shit. We have a Constitution?
We'll just deal with that in another
Does
episode.
anyone pay attention to that anymore? Okay. So this is a case from Canada, and it is closely mirroring a case that just is still actually ongoing as far as doling out all the details in the United States and the lower part of North America. And it's about a young girl who was abducted from her home in similar way that Jayme Kloss was abducted, with different outcome and different MO as far as we know. So part of what was so captivating about Jayme Kloss is that she is looks like a very sheltered young lady and was always considered shy. Pictures of her were not very telling. She looks, I have to say, relieved and much better, even though she, is thinner and obviously haggard after 88 days of being held captive under a weirdo's bed. It's interesting the age. Her abductor, Jake Patterson's 21, and she's 12 or 13. And this case, Jasmine Richardson, was 12 when she went off with her boyfriend, who was 23. So similar age, although it was, different cases. But because of things like Jasmine Richardson, cases like Jayme Kloss are hard to wrap our heads around. No one wants to think that a random person plans with bizarre precision of a 21-year-old to break into a home, kill anyone who's there, and take the young girl he saw when he was sitting in his car at a stop sign behind her school bus.
The first time I heard that, I got a chill down my spine. And when you just said it now, I got a chill down my spine.
It's in the words of my beloved retired detective Paul Holes, the worst nightmare, a completely random abduction. They looked, and are still looking for any connections between the two, social media, cell phones, anything. Can't find a connection. He said he did not know her name until he took her and she told him. He said this.
Gee, man.
Yeah. He had tried on 2 previous occasions to abduct her, and that did not go well. He cased out the place for a long time. He shaved his head as to not leave any DNA evidence, and he did not. Wore a mask, gloves, dressed all in black. Large gun. Bizarrely admitted that he, at 1 a.m, was like pounding on the door, and the father goes to the door and says, "Let me see your badge." I guess he said he was the cops, and that ruse did not work. And Jayme and her mother were huddled in the bathtub. I'm going to say this. If there's another way out of your house and you don't want to leave your husband and father, I understand. But if there's another way out of your house, get out.
Run.
Leave. Huddling in the tub might sound like a good thing. It's a good thing if you're in the middle of a tornado. That's where you should hide. If someone you don't know or someones you don't know are banging on your door in the middle of the night, you love your spouse, your husband, your father with all of your heart, but you do them a favor if you live. You do them a big favor if you live, because you can tell the authorities what happened. If you don't live, no one knows. I cannot imagine what Jayme Closs's life is going to be like. Hearing one gunshot, knowing her father was dead. The only good thing I can say about this perp is that he didn't shoot them and have them wounded and die slowly. They were gone. Shot them both in the head. But, Jayme's mother was holding her when he shot her. And kidnapped her, didn't know her name, and kept her in a 2.5 foot space under his bed, blocked in with totes and boxes. When anyone would come to the home, he would hide her underneath there. She would go a very long time without food or water or bathroom breaks. I mean, I can't imagine. No, none of us can really imagine unless we've been through it. And I pray to God, no one within the sound of my voice has been through that.
I can't even imagine that.
So when something like that happens, we tend to remember cases like Jasmine Richardson that aren't quite like that. So in 2006, there's some really good information on this case. On the ID channel, there's Deadly Women, Forbidden Love. There's a book written in 2010 by Robert Remington, and it's called Runaway Devil, The Forbidden Love, How Forbidden Love Drove a 12-year-old to Murder Her Family. Now, Runaway Devil is a bit of a hearkening back to one of her screen names. So she met her boyfriend, let's call him that. It's hard to say that because he's 23 and she's 12. Jeremy Steinke. So she met Jeremy Steinke when she was 11 and he was 22 at a rock concert. I don't know in 2005, 2004, how an 11-year-old goes to a rock concert. I don't know if her parents were there. I don't know if she was with a friend. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah, she was unchaperoned?
I don't know. That's the part when you're 11, how do you meet someone if you're with your parents at a rock concert? I'm wondering if she was with a friend, if maybe the friend's parents are there. I don't know. It's just how they met. But her screen name on this odd user page was Runaway Devil. And Jeremy Steinke was very much into vampires. Well, actually, werewolves. They talked on a user page called vampirefreaks.com, but he swore that he was a 300-year-old werewolf.
Well, that's off to a good start.
And he wore a vial of what he said was blood around his neck as a reminder.
That's a beautiful follow-up.
Now, I mean, Angelina Jolie wore blood around her neck. It was supposedly Billy Bob Thornton's blood. People are weird, whatever. I don't care. As long as you don't have a bloodborne disease and you're not spraying it out, with a T-shirt gun all over a stadium.
Oh, so I should stop doing that?
Oh, fuck, Mark. How many times do I have to tell you to stop spraying your bloodborne diseases? Yeah, I don't, maybe it was red food dye. Who knows? But he's, 23 and thinks he's real, uber goth and shit. And it looked like he had either dyed his eyebrows or just waxed or shaved them off, because he does look quite frightening. Or maybe he just had, childhood cancer. I don't know. He just was a effing mess, quite frankly. Gaunt, circles under his eyes. I don't think it was makeup. I think it was from a weird lifestyle. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say this, and I don't even want to say it, but Jasmine Richardson is one of the more beautiful girls I've ever seen in my life. At the age of 12 or 13, I'm not giving him any excuse. She said she was 15 and she could pass for 20. I mean, she was sophisticated looking. She did not look 12 or 13. She looked 20 if she looked a day, and she was beautiful. She knew how to look at the camera like I'll say this and it'll come into play later, a death stare. She could stare straight at the camera with this amazing model look. I mean, she was beautiful. 12 is, can be an awkward age. At the age of 12, I think I look like a Huffalump or something. I mean, I can't even, but she, was really a stunningly beautiful girl. And she said she was very much in love with this guy. Now, I get it. Teenage hormones, blah, 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 blah. But what they did was so egregious against human nature. I mean, matricide and patricide, it happens. Typically, when you're older and you're pissed at your parents or something, you punch them, whatever. And to slaughter, and that is, there's no other word, slaughter her 8-year-old brother in his bed. That, and Jayme Steinke admits to killing Mark Richardson and Deborah Richardson. He admits to killing them and says Jasmine killed her brother. Says Jasmine wanted a shot at her brother, was his quote. She wanted a shot at her brother, so I was taking care of the parents downstairs and she went upstairs to his room. Now, she says, I stood at the doorway and Jayme killed my brother. No, I don't even know if I'm buying it. Slit Tyler's throat.
God.
8-year-old Tyler in his bed. And ironically, police officers still have nightmares about that site because Tyler was drained of his blood, basically, not in a vampire way, but in an awful way. And his toys were completely blood spattered and soaked. His toys, an 8-year-old's toys.
Oh, man.
His bed soaked. He was drained of blood from his neck, almost decapitated, and his toys were blood spattered. So at, April 22nd of 2006, what they believe happened, because no one's ever going to tell the truth in this case. Jayme Steinke went into the home, killed Mrs. Richardson first with 12 stab wounds, including one into her chest that was 12 centimeters deep that was really bad. Mr. Richardson, Mark Richardson, heard his wife screaming and came down the steps, and he stabbed him over 20 times and said that Jasmine wanted to have a shot at her brother. And I don't know the number of stab wounds in Jacob's body, but the only thing I know is that his head was almost removed from his body. So that was pretty bad. I don't know who did it because neither of them, they both point fingers at each other. Now, here's where, the Canadian justice system bothers me. They have some help from one of Jeremy's friends. She was 19. Her name's Casey. And she drove them away from the scene and disposed of some of the evidence.
Oh, so they had somebody helping them?
Well, she was arrested, and she was charged with being an accessory for driving them away in her pickup truck and then disposing of evidence. But I believe that she turned evidence against them, so she didn't serve any time. So they were arrested. They were seen, like 2 hours later at a restaurant laughing and having a wonderful time.
This one really makes me sick.
I'm sorry. I know. But I just felt it was so parallel to Jayme Closs with a different outcome. So parallel to young girls, similar age. I mean, the fact that it's Canada gives it some differences. So under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, Jasmine's name wasn't even published after. So at first, much like Jayme, they put out an Amber Alert. Look, there's a girl that's missing and we need to talk to her about a very serious family issue. They don't even release that her parents are murdered because they think she's been abducted. That's why it's amazing that when Jasmine is missing from the house, the rest of the family is slaughtered. They think that a predator came in and stole her and she's endangered. When Jayme went missing and her parents are shot dead in front of her, it's immediately thought that she ran away with a boyfriend. And yet both cases end in just the opposite way.
Yeah, they're mirror images of each other.
Mirror images, but one child is taken and one child contributed.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they're different. But did the cops assume in the case of Jasmine that she ran off with a boyfriend? Or
No.
But they assumed it with the other Jayme,
Mm-hmm.
maybe because of what happened in the Jasmine case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's been so hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact that this is a completely, as far as we know, to this date, it's a completely anonymous, random abduction. The fact that Jake Patterson has told the police, I didn't know her name until I kidnapped her, abducted her, and she told me. He just saw her getting off the bus. He was behind the bus in his car at a stop sign. And that's the one. That's her.
She was just like in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, he's in the wrong mind at the wrong time.
Well, exactly. I'm just saying it's just that he just happened to grab onto that and then just made it his mission.
And made it his mission. Exactly. I mean, spent a long time planning this. I mean, leaving no clues, no connection to her. They wouldn't have known anything if she hadn't had, he said to her, and I'm talking about Jayme Closs now, the cops would have never found her if 88 days after she was abducted, he didn't say to her, I'm going to be gone for 4 to 6 hours. And she found something inside of herself to get the fuck out and walk out in the freezing snow and find a neighbor walking her dog. I'm lost. I don't know where I am. My name is Jayme Closs. Can you help me? Yeah,
the cops who seem to be taking a lot of credit.
Oh God, that angers me so much.
They didn't have anything to do with it. They never would have found her.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right. Unless he did something awful to her and they found her remains somewhere. If he didn't, but he was apparently pretty detail oriented to have left zero. He took the shotgun shells with him. He collected the shotgun shells.
Yeah, he
shaved his head, probably his body, and left no. I mean, he admitted to the police that I thought he shot through the door. He threw his shoulder against the door 15 times to break it down.
Oh my God!
How did he not dislocate his shoulder?
Didn't they have a back door that they could have run out of?
It looks like a very small ranch-style house, and I think, Mrs. Kloss thought she was doing the best thing. Let her husband, her, big, strong husband, go to the door in the middle of the night when something weird's happening, and she thinks she's protecting her daughter. I don't want to victim shame because we don't know what we would do, at the time.
I guess. I know. I mean, if you hear but if he's taking 15 times, if I'm the dad, I'd get everybody and get out the back window or something.
Well, we know there was a 911 call from Mrs. Kloss's phone, and all you could hear was a lot of yelling, nothing intelligible. So she at least thought quickly to get some sort of help, even if the help was not. No one ever thinks a stranger is going to bust in your door, kill you and your husband, and kidnap your daughter. Let's just start there. No one thinks that's going to happen. And that's the national nightmare right now, is that it did. And it wasn't a guy that your daughter was romancing online and said she was 21. It was a guy who had no connection to your daughter, didn't even know her name.
Right. This is what's creepy about it, is that I wonder how many freaks there are out there that this gives them an idea. I mean, because all you need to do is, if you don't have an object that you're focusing on ahead of time, if you just say, I'm going to find somebody at random, I'm going to find a young girl at random that was going to be my slave, and I'll just pick her at random, then I'll carefully plan it, and then I'll kidnap her, and as long as I keep, the only thing this guy did is fuck up when he went away and left her so she could get out.
Right.
I mean, it's scary to me to think that now that there may be other freaks out there thinking they can do this.
Well, there are, at any point in time, 180,000 missing unidentified people in the United States alone. So some of them come back, some of them are missing because they want to be, but I'm quite sure there are more stranger abductions than we know. I feel like that a large part of them are probably A, less planned out, and B, don't require everyone else to be slaughtered in the house. That's the part. If he had wanted to kidnap Jayme, he could have come in her window at night. He could have waited for her after the bus. Her parents worked the same shift and had for 27 years together at the Jenny O turkey factory. He could have, found out their schedules. He said to the police he didn't know who would be home at the time, but he came prepared to kill anyone who wasn't her. I think a lot of people are probably kidnapped in much less dramatic ways. That's why it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that this was random. Because of the preparation, because of his bizarre behavior and his planning, it would look to 99% of anyone looking at this case that she had to somehow be involved.
Right. And I guess, do you think that there may be more to this story that we'll find out later?
Well, there's more coming out every day, and I think the more we'll learn is about him, not about her. I was like, there's something very wrong. There's something they're not saying. And of course they can't, because it's an active, open case. But everyone I know thought she was involved. And I understood. I
did.
Well, me too. I understood completely. I was like, I don't understand. It was maybe a month after she was taken that they said, we can find no connection to anyone that would have done this. We can find no online boyfriends, or, she's talking to an older man. She has a boyfriend, or nothing. She looked like a very quiet, shy, sheltered girl. She had some interests and she had friends, and she seemed like a lovely human being. She had her beloved dog, Molly, and Molly was the first to alert there were noises outside and woke Jayme up first. And then her dad went to the door, and, I guess maybe Jayme heard him say, show me your badge, or maybe Mr. Patterson said, the father yelled, show me your badge. But, he busted through the door, shot him in the head, shot Mrs. Kloss in the head while he tied up Jayme and then abducted her in the span of 4 minutes.
Yeah, that takes planning. Absolutely.
He saw the police and sirens coming at him as he was driving away with her in the trunk. By the way, he disabled the emergency hatch latch in the back so she couldn't get out. Thought to do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that he said 88 days in, I'm going to be gone for 4 to 6 hours. He was not employed, so he wasn't missing work anywhere. He was living in a home with another person in his family's name on the deed. You know, he would have friends over sometimes, I guess. I don't know how he has friends, and he would make her hide under the bed. So I'm wondering if when he says, I'm going to be gone 4 to 6 hours, if he actually wanted her subconsciously to leave.
Yeah, that does. I didn't realize he told her that.
Yep.
That sure sounds like
I'm going to be gone 4 to 6 hours.
He meant to get caught. Mm-hmm. Because they found him just right around the corner
11 minutes later, 11 minutes after they were notified that Jayme was in a neighbor's home, safe and, being warmed up, they found him driving around in his Taurus. So it's understandable why so many people thought that she had to have a hand in it. I don't know. If she says she didn't, I'm going to believe her. If the police say she didn't, I have to believe them. But cases like Jasmine Richardson's are much more common, where a young girl says, I hate my parents, and a hormone-induced male says, well, we can do something about that. And she says, I have a plan. It involves me killing them and living with you. And he says, I love your plan, but we need to be more detailed on how we do it and stuff. and stuff.
And stuff. Oh, God. Jeez.
So, the day before they kill her parents and brother, she posts on a user page under her name, Runaway Devil, welcome to my tragic end. Now, after they were arrested, quickly, Jeremy Steinke said, hey, have you ever seen Natural Born Killers? He says this to the police officers. It's the best love story of all time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anti-death penalty. I'm anti-death penalty.
Yeah,
I'm
just keep saying that. Just keep saying that. And wait till you hear what fucking happens. Wait till you hear, because she was 12 or 13. She's 12? 12.
She was 12
12
at
the time. Yeah. So when she's 15, she is convicted. And because of the Youth Criminal Justice Act in Canada, they won't mention her name, even though it was mentioned because they were on the lookout for her, thinking that she had been abducted. And she is given the highest sentence one can get. She's found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder. First-degree murder when she's 13. And she's given 10 years.
Right.
10 years.
That's what something similar to that does happen in the juvenile justice system in the United States, except
if you're
in most states, if you do this kind of thing, you are tried as an adult.
That's right. That's what I'm trying to say. There are probably youngsters that were considered adults and convicted of something they maybe didn't do or weren't, wholly responsible for. But I am flabbergasted that she was given the, biggest sentence they could give her, which was 10 years. And she was given 18 months off of that sentence because she'd spent that in custody. And she spent 4 years in a psychiatric institution and then 4.5 years under conditional supervision.
What does that mean?
It means you're allowed out in the community.
Is she out now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. In September of 2011, she began attending classes at Mount Royal University in Calgary. That was toward the end of her sentence.
Who put her? Did the Canadian state put her through college?
I don't want to know.
Oh, my God.
I don't want to know because I'm going to cry. So she was released from her 10-year sentence at a psychiatric hospital in the fall of 2011. And that's when she started college. And then in October of 2012, it was reported that her rehabilitation was going well. And this says that she had expressed remorse for her actions and that experts agreed that she was genuine. There's also reports that during a parole hearing, I guess, she just stood there stone-faced as they read, what she'd done.
But she wasn't paroled.
It's not parole, but it's, conditional supervision by the community.
Oh, God.
So in May of 2016, with her sentence complete, she was freed from any further court-ordered conditions or restrictions or supervision. And she was given a final sentence review on May 6th of 2016. And she, they're like, she is a poster child for rehabilitation. That sentence actually came out of someone's mouth. A poster child.
See, this is the whole debate. This is the, there are commentators like Dennis Prager who say, and I disagree with him almost completely, that it doesn't matter if they can be rehabilitated or not. If they do something like this, they have to be punished, and they have to be killed.
Well,
I don't agree with it.
I know. And you have changed my mind. You and Paul Zolo, who expresses, constant fear and shock and awe at me when I say things like Gene Simmons, who killed, 16 people, 14 of them in his own family, should be killed 16 times and revived.
I don't find that shocking at all. I think that's a perfectly legitimate human reaction to what he did, and it's a legitimate reaction to what this girl did too.
You and Paul are, I'm becoming softer with age in more ways than one. And I think because I've seen the number of people that are convicted that are innocent. That's the thing that is stopping me. Because I'm telling you what, I'm an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth girl. And having a discussion with your parents driving home on Saturday from the family get-together about closure. I no longer even believe the word closure. There's no such thing as closure. When it comes to a murdered or missing family member, obviously if they're missing, knowing where they are in whatever condition or shape you get them in brings you a tiny modicum of peace, because the not knowing is worse. But I have heard too many family members attend an execution of someone who has murdered a member of their family, and they said, I didn't feel any better. I thought I was going to feel better.
You hear that almost every time.
Almost every time. I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, he's dead. Then you go home and you still are sad, and you have a hole in your heart, and it doesn't bring your loved one back. So I would love to be the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth girl, and I'm just not that person anymore. And it's difficult to look yourself in the mirror when you hear about a girl who, stabs her 8-year-old brother and almost cuts his head off, and lets her boyfriend murder her parents, if that's the way it happened. Even though Jeremy Steinke did say he murdered both of the parents, he did take responsibility for that. So they're both charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. First-degree murder in Canada. Gets her 10 years, gets him a life sentence. He appeals every time he can, saying that, it was I wanted to do anything to save her. It's her fault.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's 23, and obviously a immature 23. Let's just call him that. But he writes these, on a Windows Live Spaces account, which is a Canadian place where young people can meet and talk. He writes, "Their throats I want to slit. They will regret the shit they have done, especially when I see to it that they're gone. They'll pay for their insolence," misspelled. "Finally, there shall be silence. Their blood shall be payment."
Okay. Yeah. Reasonable guy. Yeah.
And Jasmine said in her testimony, my brother Jacob pleaded for his life. And as I, heard his throat being slit by my boyfriend, he made a gurgling sound.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
She also then said to somehow defend her actions, it would just be too cruel to leave Tyler with no parents. They called him Jacob. His name is Tyler Jacob Richardson, but they called him Jacob. It would be too cruel to leave him without our parents.
So she's an angel.
She is an angel of mercy. So when they asked her, why would you do this? She said, I loved him so much, I thought it would bring us closer together. So I don't know what sort of pre-Cana marriage counseling, catechism or whatever it's called that these youngsters went through. But if you have a counselor or somebody who tells you, you know what, if you kill your parents, it's going to bring you two closer together, you should probably not go to that person anymore.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, Jayme Steinke's defense attorneys say, you know what, he really was not responsible for this. He was in an alcohol and drug-fueled haze, and he just snapped. And Jasmine pushed him to it. He was a lovesick, immature man who would do anything to keep this girlfriend's affection. Mm-hmm. That's why he planned it all out and executed it in a horrible fashion. And Jasmine's friends testified and said, she had talked about, killing her parents, but we didn't believe her.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm going to say this.
She talked about it.
No, to her friends. I want to kill my parents. Look, everyone has said in their life, you know what? I hate my mom. I'm going to punch my dad. My brother is going to be held under in the tub, whatever. I don't know. I'm an only child, but everyone has said things with hyperbole. And I'm not faulting Jasmine's friends. Maybe they, it said they didn't believe her, but apparently she talked pretty frequently about killing her parents. So this is the part that just gets me, because part of his message is a beautiful message, and part of it is just, I think it's short-sighted. So when they announced her freedom in May of 2016, Queen's Bench Justice Scott Brooker said, I think your parents and brother would be proud of you. Clearly, you can't undo the past. You can only live each day with the knowledge you can control how you behave and what you do each day. I think your parents would be proud of you, and your brother.
It's a different way of thinking. And maybe it is culturally different in Canada. I don't know. But to me, that's horribly shallow and stupid.
Yeah, all I can say is, like I said, short-sighted. I mean, I'm a big fan of most of Canada. There's a lot of things they have that I think are wonderful things in place. Obviously, there are things that need, adjusting the same way it is in the United States. But I don't understand. I mean, the age of her, the psychiatric evaluation, she basically wasn't given 10 years of anything. She was given 4 years in a psychiatric institute and 4.5 years on community supervised, freedom.
She wasn't punished at all.
Not really.
She was treated from the beginning
Yeah.
as something that needed to be fixed rather than someone who needed to be punished.
That's it. So I don't think this will happen, but while they were both incarcerated, they exchanged letters, and Jayme Steinke asked Jasmine Richardson to marry him, and she said yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's not in that same frame of mind these days.
Yeah, let's hope not. I mean, he was 25 when he was finally convicted, and she was, 13. And he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But because it's Canada, it's life in prison without parole for 25 years.
Oh, but then it's not life in prison without parole.
So at the age of 50, he can come up for parole.
And he's what, 11 years older than her?
Yes, 11 years older.
Oh
than her.
my God.
Yeah.
So he'll be 50, she'll be 39. Oh my God. I can't. Oh my God.
So not only was there the proposal of marriage, which was accepted, all of the letters that were exchanged and intercepted before being exchanged, none of the letters expressed any guilt or remorse. That's the thing that bothers me. Now, Jayme Steinke has changed his name in prison, and he has, he put up quite a few, quite a few appeals that he, was hoping would really get through. And he finally gave up after a while, giving up and doing his time, I guess. So in 25 years, all I can do is say, I hope that his parole is denied, and I hope he spends the true sentence he was given, life in prison. And I hope Jasmine Richardson, who also changed her name, accidentally trips and falls down a well and lands on a knife. Accidentally. And more cowbell.
And remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, give her a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com.